How you feeling?
Good.
Good. Okay, so you started your real estate career quite late, coming from reception. Talk about your journey before real estate. What caused you the spike in ambition to give sales a go? So what age were you when you got into sales?
49.
At 49, get into sales, and now is one of the greatest real estate agents in Australasia. So, what was the ambition, the decision?
Well, I started in 2002, so I got an opportunity when I had 4 little children. My youngest was only 3, and I wasn't really thinking of a career at that point, but I got offered an opportunity to go and work for a local real estate agency just as a receptionist 1 day a week, and then within a year I was helping out the owner of the business, being her PA, and did marketing, sales administration, property management. Over the course of 13 years I worked in that business, and then when my boss at the time, we had the opportunity to open another business in North Richmond, and he asked everybody in the team who would like to go, and nobody else really put their hand up except for me, and when I said I would do it, I nearly had a heart attack because I'd actually said it out loud and realised I was going to have to commit to it, but it was the best decision. I wasn't planning to be a salesperson. I actually really loved my job as a PA and supporting, at the time it was the top salesperson in Ray White. I worked for her and learnt a lot from her. Actually then I had another salesperson I worked for as well who was also a top agent in Ray White. So I feel that I had a great deal of inspiration from the people that I worked for.
Okay, so walk us through. You've made the decision, that's it. You've said yes before your brain could even think about it, right? You've said yes. I've met your husband, your family's here. So tell us, what's the conversation you had to have with your family in supporting this change? Because that meant ours going to be different, isn't it? And you were going to be away from times that you were normally at home. Explain that conversation. Yeah,
well, my 4 children, I was always there for them. I was a legal secretary before I had my first child, so I was 10 years in legal. That gave me really good grounding, I think, for what I did when I joined in real estate. And at that time, I was home with my kids and, always there for them. So when I had the opportunity to go into sales, they'd seen how much I'd sacrificed for them and also for the people I worked for. And I think they were just very excited for me and absolutely supportive. My kids were, say, do it, Mum, and my husband as well, who's now, working with me in the business as well, was 100% behind me.
So your business is, you got 2 daughters?
I've got 2 girls and 2 boys.
2 girls, 2 boys. So who's your team?
So my daughters, my work daughters, that's Megan and Amy. So they've been with me now. We call them our work daughters, and we're work mum and work dad. Amy's been with me for 3 years and Megan for 4. They've been the core of my team ever since within a couple of years they became the core of my team. So. Okay. We have a pretty strong unit, and there's a lot of trust that needs to happen, I think, when you have people that you give a lot of responsibility to, but I know they're highly skilled. They've both got a lot of experience in the industry. So having a good team definitely makes a difference.
You don't work for Ray White Double Bay. It's Ray White at Richmond, isn't it?
North Richmond.
North Richmond.
Yeah.
Big difference in price range. Big difference in the amount of turnover you've got to do to achieve the GCI that you see some of these big price businesses do. I'm just curious, to do what you're doing, do you work long hours? What are your hours you work? How does it all work with 4 kids? How does, and you've bought into the business now, you're one of the owners of the office. How do you manage your time?
Well, initially when I started, I did everything, and I was quite capable of doing it because I had no listings. So I was given a very small little farm area. I went out and door knocked and, did a few of those and nearly burst into tears and ran back to my car and nearly didn't do it because I was so nervous. And then I just got myself together and decided if I was ever going to be good, I had to just get out there and do it. I knew all of the things that I had to do, and I did used to do them all myself at the beginning, as everybody does. But then as I got, in my first year, so my goal was really only just to make what I was making as a secretary. I thought if I could do...
How much was that?
70,000 a year.
Well, you're doing that now.
Yeah. Well, I doubled that in my first 3 months. So I was very confident right from the very beginning that I could do it. So I backed myself, and within about a year, I had my first assistant. And then obviously, you get busier and busier, so you have to manage your capacity. So as I got to the point where I couldn't do all of my administration, I needed somebody to help me with that. So I employed somebody to help. That was a different person at that time. And then it was about a year later, Megan came on, and then I realised I needed a buyer person as well. So that was Amy's role in the team, was to look after the buyers. Megan is my EA. She's basically my operations manager and manages a lot of things for me.
Cindy, what if someone's in this audience and they don't have any assistant at all, and they're thinking about doing it because they got inspired this weekend and they heard if you don't have a PA, you are the PA, and you've got thoughts in your head, I need to, as they say, the pilot doesn't serve drinks on the plane, and they begin to realise I can't be everything to everyone. What is the first role they should get? The first person you should hire, what kind of role should they do?
Yeah, I needed someone to help me with my open homes and following up my buyers, and mainly having long conversations with buyers, because that was taking up a lot of my time. I didn't have time to do the appraisals because I was doing a lot of buyer work. So an administrator, I definitely just needed someone to do that. So within 18 months, I employed somebody to be an administrator for me.
So within 18 months of being in real estate sales, you put someone on.
I put someone on.
You put someone on.
I
Whether
was
it's
encouraged
60 or
to
70
do that.
grand, you put someone on and you're all in. Okay. Your area, off the top of my head, is a non-auction market.
No, we don't. Traditionally not a very auction-orientated market.
Do you do auctions now at all yourself?
I do. I started doing them before COVID, and then when COVID started, we started doing them online, and I think that really was good for our area because we're a bit of a baby boomers market, so it's a lot of older people, traditionally not very comfortable with standing on the front veranda or the front lawn with people, too confronting for them. So I think that provided a really good platform for them to get a little bit more confident with the process. So after that, I continued on with it, had some really great successes with it, and then felt very confident about selling the process. But in my market, it's more about controlling the days on market and also meeting the market in a time frame, which is obviously what auctions do best.
I just notice, Cindy, wherever I go to speak at an event, or if something I've got to do, you're there, and I think to myself, she's got a family, she's running her business. Oh, by the way, can I ask you, since you bought the business, are you a shareholder with someone else in it?
I bought the sales business, but I have a partner that we bought the rent roll as well. So she was the property manager as well of that business.
Why'd you buy the business?
I knew my boss was going to be selling it at some point. I knew that he wasn't going to keep it. I didn't want to work for somebody else. I suppose for the same reason I decided to be a salesperson as opposed to an EA. I was ready for a challenge. I like being busy. I like challenges. When I feel like I've exhausted that part, I want to do something different. And so my next thought was, it'd be really nice to just do everything my way, the way I envisage it to be. Even from redecorating the office, we did that as soon as I bought the business. I just wanted to do things the way that I envisaged them to be.
How has your life changed in sales now that you're a business owner, or hasn't it changed?
Look, I think sales have dropped a little bit in the last 12 months anyway, because I only bought the business in July last year. So, and we've had a couple of floods, like where our demographic is, it's in between the Hawkesbury River and the Blue Mountains. So we're sort of semi-rural and, a bit of mixture of residential. It's about an hour from Sydney. Sorry, I've forgotten the question you asked me.
No, I was just saying, like a lot of people that open up a business, they turn around and they say, Tom, I've got to tell you, when I was just listing and selling, life was great.
Oh, yeah.
But now all of a sudden I'm running the business, I'm payroll tax officer, I have to be a counsellor to my staff, I've got to do the P&L reports, all that sort of stuff. Is that got in the way, or is your life just continued going as normal?
Well, I had basically the girls that were working for me then, before I was a business owner, still work for me. So I set that up, and then I became an independent contractor a year before I bought the business too. So we were sort of essentially having a trial run of owning it. The only thing that we had to layer in was the trust accounting and just a few other things, really. I felt like I was doing most of it already. So I kind of did it over a series of things, not all at once. So I haven't found in short, it hasn't really made much of a difference to me.
Okay. And how do you fit in the time? Like, you go to most training events, I see you there. How do you like going to events?
I do, I love it. I love learning. I love being part of the Ray White group because we have so many amazing agents and we're all very good at collaborating and sharing, and I've had some really strong mentors in our group that I've looked up to that have enabled me to improve my skills and aspire to be something better than I am. It's not like I've really tried to compete with anybody else. I only really stay in my own lane and focus on, what I want to do.
Where do you get your appraisals from mostly now? When people are calling and saying, we want to sell our house, where do you think that they're coming from, the main sources?
I think very early in the piece my thoughts were to be an attraction agent. I know some people don't like that terminology. I do have a database as well, so I tried to cover all bases and do everything. But I wanted people to come to me because of, they either referred to me by somebody or they saw that I was very active and I was selling a lot of property and getting great results, and I didn't want to have to be door knocking forever. I didn't want to have to be on the chase forever. So it became, similar to what Amit was saying. I have a database, I service it quarterly, ring them regularly, follow up my past clients, and I've got people that help me with that now, because obviously when you get to a point where you're doing so many appraisals and so many sales, you can't do it all. So I do have a team of people now that make sure that our customer service levels don't drop. And so all I have to focus on is just the selling and the listing and working with my vendors.
Door knocking, how long did you do it for? A year?
I only did not even that long. Literally, I did it for about probably 3 months completely. From my very first listing, I maximised everything to do with that sale. So I ran an open home, again, looked at any opportunity for anyone who came to the open home, absolutely publicised the sale by DLs and social media and got reviews, and I just maximised every single contact that I had and just did that.
I mean, people underestimate the power of just one sale, what it actually does, what you can scale. Like if you list a property, just listed, come to the open, just sold, you have a new neighbour, would you like to know what your new value of your home is in the street? You've got 5 points of contact. By the way, everyone, I'm going to give you a letter that will guarantee you high quality appraisals in the street of a property you sold. Every time you sold a property, get a dear neighbour letter. So I sell Cindy's property. Cindy's happy. I get Cindy to write a letter saying, dear neighbour, I've just sold my home with Tom Panos. He sold it in 2 weeks and got me an amazing figure. I have no hesitation in recommending anyone else but Tom to sell your home in this market. You get that letter and you use that as marketing, as a letterbox drop in the street. You'll get appraisals because the neighbour is the one that's actually talking about you, not you talking about you. Who likes that idea? Show of hands. Team, get started on it straight away. Guarantee you will get high quality appraisals. I want to ask you, what hours do you work?
It varies. Look, sometimes I'll start, I usually start at about 5 o'clock in the morning. I wake up and,
What do you do between 5 and 6:30?
Well, the sun comes up. I love watching the sun come up. I live up in a mountain, so I get to see that. Have a cup of tea, go through my emails, check my calendar for the day, mentally prepare myself. Yeah, at home, yeah. And then I walk my dogs, so my husband and I usually then, talk about everything and what sort of struggles we might have or difficult situations we need to sort out. And then I'll just get down to the office at 9, and then, it'll be appointments, appraisals, talking to people in the office, all the things that you do. It varies because a lot of people do come home late. So sometimes I'll be home at 8 o'clock at night. Sometimes it'll be 6 o'clock at night. But sometimes I do work really long days, and I make time for my family as well. I think we were talking about that before. I make sure that I have blocks of time that I spend with my daughters and my now granddaughter, and so that I have the balance in my life with my family and my work. So, and I feel very in control and focused because I give them 100%. When I'm with them.
Big admirer of people like you, because I look at people like you, mother, grandmother, wife, business owner, real estate agent, EBU, and somehow you still get all your shit done. Then you get some other young person, 24 years of age, they have no commitments, they're footloose, fancy free, and they just say, man, I'm under the pump. I can't work it out, Leanne, I can't work it out, mate. What are you doing? Your mum still makes you breakfast, she buys your underwear.
I do get a lot of support. My husband supports me a lot.
Look at her, how nice she is. I do get a lot of support. My husband. Well, that's going to be a safe drive home now, yes. Cindy, I think more than anything in this conversation, is that like you hear the term, I'm too young. I always say, if you're good enough, you're old enough, but you're in the opposite direction at age nearly 50 years of age.
Now I'm 56. I was going to say that a few people have been 56, I've noticed. So, yeah.
Well,
I don't think age is a barrier.
You're 56?
I am.
Well, I'm turning 56 in about a week's time. Give a big round of applause. 56, grandma. Hey, you got to admit, 50's a good age as age.
I love the 50s.
Because what happens is you don't give a stuff anymore.
You don't. You don't. You really don't. All
Like
the things
you
you
just
worried
accept-
about when you were younger, you just don't worry about
You
them
don't
anymore.
care. You realise, like, doesn't matter what they think about, and then you realise they're actually not even thinking about me.
That's right.
And then you think
they
to
are.
yourself, what's the point? I'm going to die in 20 years anyway. Just get on with it. Oh, listen, outstanding, Cindy. I want to thank you so much for taking time out here. Time flies. Can you please give this wonderful lady a big round of applause? Thank you so much. Thank you.